Hello and welcome everybody to the weekly My Journey Farbrengen. Today we're going to be talking about a few topics. The first one going to be about denial or taking off the masks. Then the inyan of living with Mashiach. Then we're going to move on to Kabbalah's oil. What does Kabbalah's oil mean? And there's going to be a little story about it. And finally, what is the action of what we need to take? So this is going to be exciting. Let's have a discussion. So before we start, I would like to first of all appreciate everybody for the feedback. It was way beyond what I expected. It was really nice. Thank you. My heart is very warmed by the support and by the advice and by just the general overall reaction. Thank you for everybody that gave the advice. I'm definitely listening and taking it all into account. This time we're going to keep it shorter, around the 20-minute or so range. So a lot of people are asking, where do I get my inspiration from? The inspiration comes from all these experiences and from past experiences and what I'm going through currently. And I just thought of sharing this whole journey that we all go through. You know, we're all in this together. We all have our own stories and we have our own journeys. And it's just about sharing and connecting. That's what it's all about. Currently, I work in the prisons and I'm somewhat associated a little bit with rehabs. In my past, I've had business experience. Through the prison system, there were many discussions with the inmates, and that has inspired me to keep somewhat of a journal to discuss what we talk about. And based on that journal, I wrote a book. It's a very transformative book. It was amazing. It was a very beautiful journey, that in itself. I got a lot of brachas from the Rebbe for that book that I wrote, and now that I shared with some other inmates, there's beautiful feedback coming in. Hopefully soon we could get it published and publicize it. But for now, we're gonna use that book as a reference for discussions. Another preface is that I connect very strongly to Yirmiyahu Novi. So I try to learn at least a chapter or so every week or around there. I connect to Parshas Nitzavim, especially the psukim, the pasuk specifically of Kikarov and the psukim around it. Happens to be that Yirmiyahu Novi is my namesake. I'm named after Yirmiyahu Novi, and happens to be that Parshas Nitzavim also is my bar mitzvah parsha. I guess that's the Ashkacha Pratis. Tanya is based on Kikarov, and a lot is taken from there as well. The first chapter of the book talks about denial and recognizing that there's a Kodesh Baruch Hu in the world. There's an Eibishter of the Welt, and everything comes from Him, and everything is good. Whatever He does is good. The very first chapters of the Torah talks about how Hashem has created the world, and He always sees that it's good. It's always good. It's always good. The Torah tends to go through very big lengths in order to maintain a positive outlook and try to not say negativity, and it goes through Behema Torah and different words that it adds. So that's the premise of what this book is about, and what the premise of my approach to life is, that everything is good and everything comes from Hashem. And it happens to be that our denial is what stands in the way. We're going to elaborate more on that a little bit further. The past week, now many of this Farbrengen is always going to be in continuation of Farbrengens that I've had the week before. As I told you, the Farbrengens that I go to are Shiurim, so I go to Shiurim Farbrengens Wednesday night and Thursday night. And over there we were talking about the need of living within Mashiach times. In other words, we need to live as though we are already in Mashiach. That's what the Rebbe was saying. The Rebbe was saying that Mashiach is already here. We need to simply open up our eyes. That means that we need to have a spiritual enlightenment. Why? Because we're living in this darkness. We continuously blind ourselves to what is going on around us. That's kind of what we're referring to when we say denial. What happens is that Mashiach is a sense of a mindset in this sense. We have to see and we have to free ourselves from all our limitations. We have things that limit us. It's whether it's our mind, whether it's our attitude, it's our behavior, whatever it is, we are limiting our own selves and we stand in our own way. The way to get over this and the way to live within a Mashiach era time is to live by letting go and letting Hashem do his thing. We often stand in our own way and we think that we have some kind of control over our life. However, by letting go of our ego and completely giving ourselves over entirely to Hashem, by every sense of the word, that's how we could live in a time of Mashiach. A Mashiach time of living above time, above space, above any tam vadas. We don't have the answers to what's going on. And if we simply say, we want Mashiach now, how badly do we truly want Mashiach now? Have we ever sat down and meditated on what does we want Mashiach now really mean? And if we think about it, we say we want Mashiach now and we think we know what it means to bring Mashiach, and we're not getting anywhere. How's it working out for us? Why are we so oblivious to what's going on around us? And that brings us back to denial. We're in this denial state. We think we know it all. We think we have the answers, and we think that we understand what the Rebbe says. We don't bother to sit down and truly meditate on what the Rebbe is trying to tell us and what the Rebbe is trying to inspire us to do. What does really bringing Mashiach mean? And I want to demonstrate that through a letter that I received from the Rebbe recently. I always felt that the Rebbe is never answering me. Every time I ask in the Igros or whatever it is, I feel like I'm abandoned and I feel like I'm not getting an answer. But then, as a chassid, I understand that the Rebbe is fully here and the Rebbe is fully with us. And maybe my mind doesn't understand what the Rebbe is trying to say. And maybe I have some kind of avodah that I have to do on myself to be mekabel what the Rebbe is trying to tell me. And therefore, I need to do my meditation on it. I consistently write to the Rebbe. I try to write to the Rebbe every day. Recently, I've been discouraged and I felt that the Rebbe wasn't answering me, and I slowed down in writing every day. Recently I wrote back to the Rebbe and I felt that I was falling off the path that I feel comfortable on. I wrote to the Rebbe that here's what I normally do and I've been falling off. What does the Rebbe suggest? And the Rebbe kind of gave me a specific task to do. In particular, he said, be very careful on Krishma and Shemona Esrei. That's it. In my mind, I'm like, I need to daven the whole davening, and I have to have kavana, and I have to have all these things, and how could I do that when I'm struggling right now with Hashem, with the Rebbe, with myself? And the Rebbe was being sensitive about it, and he says, you know what, just practice Shema and Shemona Esrei. And I connected to that and I said, that I could handle. And then the Rebbe gave me this bombshell. He used the words Kabbalah's oil. And he was going on and on about Kabbalah's oil, and he was bringing references and he was discussing Kabbalah's oil. And I just didn't connect. I didn't understand what it meant. So for an entire week, I've been meditating on this letter, trying to fully understand what was the Rebbe trying to tell me. And that's when it kind of hit me. Through a lot of avodah and through a lot of self-introspection, I've come to realize that I stand in my own way all the time. I think I have an answer. In my particular case, one of the things that's going on is this shidduchim thing. And I think this is shaykh, this is not shaykh. And then I have all these calculations and all these thoughts in my head telling me I think I know better. But maybe I'm missing the point. Maybe Hashem is trying to tell me I have the answer. I know what's best for you. I know what's going on. Kabbalah's Ol just simply says, you know what? God, bring it on. If that person was sent to me, there has to be some kind of reason. And I'm going to give it a shot. Now, it's true that those people are acting in their own ways. Not necessarily do they want to, date me or go out with me. But that's not my problem. Okay? They have their Kabbalah's Ol issues and they have their whatever they're going through. That's not my problem. My thing is that I have to do what I feel is right in terms of what I understand Hashem wants from me. And what I understand is that I don't understand what Hashem wants from me. And by letting go of my ego, I'm okay with making mistakes. I'm okay with taking risks. And I'm okay to jump into the unknown. Why? Because Hashem knows. And Hashem is going to send anything or anybody into my path because Hashem has His reasons. I'm not going to allow my ego to stop me. I'm not going to allow my masks to block me. And I'm not going to allow my mind to judge and make all kinds of cheshbonos. Kabbalah's Ol means literally to let go of everything. What's the worst that could happen? So I'm going to go on this date and I feel that it's not it. Okay, I tried it. I gave it a shot. At least I didn't say no. At least I said Hashem knows. Hashem is the one who's putting me in whatever path it is. And I'm going to follow that path. So what I'm doing is that I'm removing myself from any form of denial. I have a problem. I recognize my problem. And I know that only Hashem has the answers to my problems. Why? Because what seems to me as negative is really and truly positive. Hashem has His cheshbonos and Hashem has His plan, and I'm only a little pawn in that game. So I want to conclude with a story, and then from there we're going to conclude with the action. So recently I heard a story by our Rav in our city, who spoke about a person who came to his Rebbe to ask for a bracha for parnasa. And he asked the Rebbe for a parnasa, and the Rebbe told him, no problem, you're going to have parnasa, but you have to give 200 rubles or golden coins or whatever it is, a big chunk of money. You have to give that to tzedakah, and then you're going to be wealthy. And so this individual tries to figure out a way of how he's going to do it, and he's looking for different ways. He's talking to his wife, and they're trying to discuss how are they going to come up with 200 golden coins. It's a lot of money. Finally, they decided that they're going to sell their horse. But the horse is his parnasa. How is he going to sell that horse? The wife said, listen, if the Rebbe gave you a bracha to sell the horse, to give 200 ruble, whatever it is, then so be it. And we have to simply have bitachon and emunah, and it's going to happen. And that's what happened. So one day, this other Rav or this other chassid or something like that came into the city, and he was looking for this chassid, and they showed him over to that house, and it's this big, beautiful, big mansion. And the chassid was like, no, it's not possible. And they said, yeah, that's his house. So they came to the house, and he realized that Taka was the guy, and he said, what happened? And he said, I sold the horse, and that's what I had to do. When they came to the Rebbe and asked him what happened, why did he have to give this 200 golden coins to tzedakah? So he says, what happened was this guy would always come to me, and he would ask me for brachas. Let my horse be strong, let my horse not fall in the way, let him not die. And he was asking for brachas for his horse, not really for himself. And that his head was just stuck in this horse. That's what was the problem. So the Rebbe says, I had to take out his head from this horse and refocus him and recalibrate him to the right way. So we had to sell the horse in order to materialize a blessing. So the lesson to us is that we have to take our heads out of our horses. Okay, and I'm specifically not using another word, but anyway. We have to stop putting ourselves in this limited way of thinking. We have to free ourselves from this time, space, and energy that we always put ourselves into. get our heads out of the horse. That's what we need to do. We have to meditate on what Hashem wants from us. We have to stop judging everybody or anything. If a person doesn't dress like us, who cares? Who are we to judge? Do we know better? Try to remain curious. Be a tamim to Hashem. Being a chassid means totally giving ourselves over to Hashem. Trying out everything. Everything is a possibility. There are hayrais and there are ways of how to do things, but at the same time, we need to really just follow this flow of just letting it all go to Hashem and stop putting ourselves in this stuck whirlwind that we always put ourselves into. There's a very nice talk that I like that I heard and that I like to always share. I heard that we live in this now moment, and the now moment is always unlimited. This now moment is always happening consistently, always, we're always in this now. The moment when we start limiting ourselves is when we start thinking of a now that already happened or a now that's going to happen. In other words, the past or the future. The past is many nows that already happened. The future are nows that are going to happen. And what we tend to do is that's where we get stuck. And we limit ourselves to our past or to a future that we think is happening or is going to happen. We forget the now. We forget to connect to this moment. That's the problem that we have. And that's when we start connecting to the moment and enjoying the moment and remaining curious about the moment, exploring that moment, living that Mashiach moment. Right now, I'm not depressed and I'm not anxious and I'm not anything. Why? Because Mashiach is here in my mind. I'm right now in this Mashiach moment. I'm imagining to myself, what would it be like to sit in front of the Rebbe again, to listen to another Farbrengen of his, to listen to another talk of his, to be around the Avis and to be around all these other tzaddikim, our loved ones, etc. To live in this perfect world, to live in this beautiful harmony. I choose to live in that moment right now. I get to choose the reality that is surrounding me. And the Rebbe clearly says that that's what we need to do. If we consistently live in this Mashiach moment, in this unlimited moment, in this perfect, beautiful, harmonious moment, then, at least in our minds, we are in a Mashiach. And if we could help inspire and encourage other people to do so, they too will live in this Mashiach mindset, if you will. And I believe, or at least how I understand the Sikh of the Rebbe, is that that's how Mashiach can materialize and will ultimately come when everybody is thinking in this Mashiach type of way. Now, this is difficult. We are not perfect. We're all on a journey. I urge you to come join me on this journey. Help me explore the 90 chapters of the book that I wrote, based on Chassidus, based on meditation, and very strongly based on a bracha of the Rebbe. I'm going to try to implement that into my avodah, in my daily life. And I hope this can inspire, and I hope you're going to join me with that. With that, I'll conclude, and hopefully we'll see you next week. I would love to have the discussions with you and, continue doing what's right. All the best, and Atzlacha Rabbah. See you soon.